Alrighty, welcome guys. It's the weekend video for bullwaves.org, obviously because you're here. I'm going to start on crude today because of the action in crude. That's probably the most interesting market at the moment. Or maybe not, maybe stocks might be the most interesting market, but what happened in crude is most definitely the most interesting thing that happened today. So let's start there and work from here. So that's the 4-hour chart in crude. You can see that we're working with a 5-wave pattern to the downside and obviously some sort of 3-wave pattern here. After looking at it again today, you might stretch a 5-wave pattern down to this point here, the extreme low, and it's possible to definitely count that as 3 waves up. I'll go into that on the shorter term chart, but whether the low is at the previous low or the most recent low in wave 1, kind of splitting hairs really, because I still think it's a correction to the upside. Either way, I still think we've got 5 waves down, and we're either well, we're almost complete anyway, 3 waves up despite today's action. Okay, let's get into the hourly chart. And the reason I say we could have wave 1 at this low here or wave 1 down here is, as you could probably split this out into a 1-2-1-2 pattern. You could probably go 1-2, and all of this move here be wave 3, and then you could get wave 4 and wave 5, and then you could work on a wave 3 waves up in A, 3 waves down in B, and then 5 waves in wave C. So that'll be a flat pattern. I'm going to stick with what I have right now because you could also count it as a flat. It's a complex flat, obviously, but a flat nonetheless in the arrangement that's here. So we have 3 waves up in A, expanded flat correction wave B, so 3 waves in wave B, and then working on 5 waves up in wave C. So either way, it's a flat. Either way, it's a second wave. And either way, I think it'll be retraced to the downside again. We're coming up against a 61.8% retracement again today. Obviously, last night we were looking at a possible 1-2 here, 1-2 to the downside, and that didn't play out, obviously. We were looking for 66.35 to hold, and that broke overnight. So we knew immediately that that particular immediately bearish count did not hold up. So obviously, with the break of that 66.35, it was going to unfold into a larger wave 2, and I didn't expect this rally, especially as I mentioned in tonight's post. OPEC says it's going to increase production and then prices rally. So, you know, I don't know how anyone would have traded that. Obviously, there was a whole lot of, I don't know, short covering, or maybe there was just some sort of algorithmic trade. Whatever the hell happened, prices just shot higher, probably against everybody's better judgment. Anyway, at least we had it tied with 66.35. That's all I can say on that front. Okay, for next week, I still think this 3-wave pattern is going to complete, and we'll probably get some sort of reaction off the 61.8%. So obviously early next week we'll look for that wave 2 to complete, and then we'll look for a further impulse wave down to hopefully set ourselves up again. Anyway, let's move on, leave that in the past and move on. Okay, let's work backwards, sure. Let's go to gold. I don't know if you've noticed here, but the way I set up my charts, each individual chart is on a separate chart, or on a separate tab in MetaTrader. So if you're interested at all, I usually have 3 charts for each market. So I hold the hourly pattern consistent. I don't move it while I switch between 30-minute pattern and the 30-minute chart and the hourly chart, and the same wave count setup seems to hold between those 2 time frames. So I can show you the hourly chart there on crude, and the labels stay pretty much stuck. And if you switch to the 30-minute chart, obviously there's a little bit of movement in the placement of the wave of the labels, but it seems to work between those two time frames. It doesn't work when you go to the 4-hour chart because it's just too much of a kind of a shift between the time frames. Yeah, so I have one tab for the 30-minute and hourly count, and then I move on. I have another tab for a completely new tab for the 4-hour count, and then I have a completely new tab again for the daily count. So that's how I set up my analysis every night. If you may not be interested in that at all, but that's the way I've set up my MetaTrader for each market. I use three tabs, 3 separate counts, 3 separate time frames. Alrighty, so that's crude covered, and a little bit of trivia on. I make myself laugh. I'm so funny. I make myself laugh. Excuse me. That's a little bit of trivia on how I set up my charts. Okay, so let's move on to gold. The action off the low is interesting. I'll go to the 4-hour chart. I still think this is a correction, 3 waves to the downside. I still think we've completed, most likely completed, a 5-wave pattern in wave C. You could also count this just on the back end here. You can also count this as a triple combination. And I think it may even hold up better than the way I'm counting it right now, but suffice to say it's a correction still. I still believe it's a correction. So triple combination would be 3 waves in A, 3 waves in B, and you could call this A, B, and C. So 5 waves down in A, this extended whatever it is in B, and then 5 waves down in C. I think that's most likely a triple combination again in what would be a B wave or a 4th wave. So whether you counted this whole move as a flat or a triple combination, it's still a correction. Key support still needs to hold at 1236.47. So we move into next week with a little glimmer of positivity because we have this nice shift to the upside in momentum on a 4-hour chart, which should be followed by, I mean, God, we're oversold at such an extreme right now that it's only a matter of days before we start seeing impulsive moves to up, or some sort of, let's say, a balance effect to this extreme in negativity in the gold market. So this could be the beginning of that, this shift to the upside in momentum. Obviously, the price has just pipped a little bit higher. We haven't had any clear 5-wave pattern to the upside yet, but that's what we'll look for next week. So let's go to the hourly chart. We've got 5 waves down in a 5th wave, and we've got a little move, positivity, or a positive move to the upside. A positive move instead of continued selling. So we could have a 1-2 pattern complete. And obviously next week, early next week, very early next week, we'd look for a 1261 to hold, and or 1261.81 cash, I think it is. So we'd look for a 3rd wave up in a possible wave 1. So I'd like to see, I was talking about these previous shelves of resistance. So the minor one here would be this 3-wave pattern. That sits at 1283. Then we've got one here, this very large 3-wave pattern in wave 4. That sits at 1309, which was resistance, what we were working with on the previous, let's say, false breakout to the upside. And then we've got that ever-present 1325, which is just laughing at us at the moment. So next week, still looking for an impulse wave to complete 5 waves up and 3 waves down to the upside to give us the best opportunity in a possible move up in wave 3 in green. Okay, so that's next week. That's early next week anyway. We'll work with that when we see it. Okay, so here's the 4-hour chart in stocks in the Dow. So we've got 1, 2, 1 completed wave 2, and we've got a nice bit of a nice move to the downside, and most likely in a 5-wave pattern also this week. It ticks all the boxes really. We have a momentum, a possible. If we get early declines next week, we'll have a death cross again on the moving averages. So that'll be something to watch out for. We had this peak in momentum, extreme peak in momentum at the previous wave 2 high. So we were looking for a turn down, and we got that. So let's the action really is or the point of say most interest is yet to come, and this would be the critical point for this short-term wave count, which would be 5 waves down and a possible 3 waves to the upside in a possible second wave. So we've got, I think, a pretty decent 5-wave pattern to the downside with a gotta get rid of these question marks while I'm at it. Okay, so 5-wave pattern to the downside labeled in pink with an extension lower in wave 3 labeled in black here. So we've got 5 waves complete in wave 1. We're looking for 3 waves up to. We've got two previous short-term swing highs there at 25,000 and 24,850. So initial resistance at 24,850. That would be the previous 4th wave low. And let's just get a Fibonacci grid on that to see where that lies. So the 50% retracement comes in there at about 24,909, about 24,900. So we've got a nice, say, cluster of resistance points here between 24,850 and 25,000. You'd look for the second wave to complete, ideally complete below those levels, and would like a pretty clear 3-wave pattern to complete in wave 2. So next week, I noticed again this evening into the close, the price had closed lower, so that's an indication that wave B may have already begun off this evening's close. So we would look on Monday for a corrective kind of slide to the downside in 3 waves in wave B, and that should complete above 24,406. And then we would look for another short rally in wave C. Right now, with that really tenuous trend channel set up there, we're looking at maybe the high 24,700, so maybe 24,760 or something. Yeah, 24,760. By Tuesday, if we got to move into 24,760 and we encountered resistance, and we started seeing a top out in that level, well then that'd be a pretty decent indication of 3 waves completing. So that's the early action next week. We want to see 3 waves complete in wave 2, and at that point then we'd look for a further slide in wave 3 gray. So that'll be wave 3 gray of wave 1 green of wave 3 blue. So 3 of 1 of 3. The potential is there for a pretty steep decline actually. So that's one to watch for. Okay, so dollar yen, the 4-hour chart. It has kind of given the action in the last couple of days. I didn't mention this in tonight's post. Maybe I should have, but it's come to it's come into my mind that we may have a larger three-wave pattern and wave 2 playing out. But the short-term pattern is still quite bullish, but it's one to keep an eye on. That if we see further kind of spill to the downside next week, we could shift to an alternate account, which would view wave 2 to fall back into the previous support there at about 107. So that's it's not particularly on the cards right now, but it's one to watch if we do get further declines that we can't otherwise explain. All right, so that's the 4-hour chart. I still think we've got a pretty decent wave 1 and 2 complete, and the move off that wave 2 low has been pretty positive. So let's get into that move. I think we've got 5 waves up complete in wave 1, green. We did have a 3-wave pattern complete, and we had a nice move up in a possible wave 1. And I haven't altered the bullish count as of yet. Like I said, the previous low at 109.55 has not been broken, so there's no reason as of yet to change. There's no technical reason to change the bullish outlook, but if the bullish count will only be confirmed with a break of 110.75, and that's a little ways off just yet. So we could still have a 1-2 pattern to the upside, but I'm kind of, let's say the probabilities are 50-50 between the current short-term count and the current short-term alternate count. So the alternate count would view possibly a double combination happening in wave 2 green which would bring the price possibly back into lower support there at 109. So if the double combination did work out, then we'd have that'd be 3 waves in A, and we'd have some sort of 3-wave pattern there in B, and then we'd have a possible 3 waves in C. Excuse me. So suffice to say that the immediately bullish count will not be confirmed unless we start getting, let's say, early Monday. If we start getting the impulsive moves to the upside early Monday, well, then that will definitely kind of move in favor of the current short-term bullish count. But if we start seeing a slip towards support or a break of support, 109.55, that'll shift the count to the alternate. So we're kind of like betwixt and between at the moment. We won't know, let's say, until probably the close on Monday, which of these, if it's a 50-50 coin toss, we won't, Monday evening, let's say, should kind of tilt in favor of one or the other. At least in the short term, you know that 109.55 should hold. Okay, so that's dollar yen. And as I move through these markets, as usual, my voice is dropping octave by octave. Okay, so let's get to the 4-hour chart in pound dollar. I should update that chart, which I haven't. Okay, so we're still looking at a 3-wave pattern completing in maybe an expanded flat wave 2, or in green here, or a running flat wave 2. Yet to be decided, and we shall see on, let's say by Tuesday, we shall see how that'll play out. Let's get to the short-term pattern on that. So a running flat would complete below 134.70, and the alternate count shown here is a possible wave 1 down with an expected wave 2, and let's see how that would actually work. So this would be kind of a wedge or a leading diagonal, wave 1, 3-wave correction, wave 2, wave 3, 4, and a 5. So you'd have, let's do that a little bit clearer. You'd have 1 for the alternate count. Now you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not great, but it still counts as a decent alternate view. The spike off the low would be wave A, and then B, and then C, and that would complete below 134.70. So either way you split this, next week is early next week is looking pretty positive. The alternate count would call for a C wave rally. The current count is calling for a wave 3 rally. And we have initial resistance at 134.70. So we should see, let's stick with the current wave count for the moment. If this is actually correct, well, then we'd probably see 3 waves complete early Monday, and then a move higher into wave 3 by Monday evening, and definitely Tuesday. And then by the end of next week, we should have this 5 waves complete. And then we should again be at a point where we could call wave 2 green complete. And then looking out into the week after that, we'd look for another impulse wave to the downside to kind of close out that corrective pattern. Okay, but early next week anyway, we can probably see a push up into the 134 to complete both, or a push into 134 would complete the alternate count. A push above 134 would be called for in a third wave anyway. So yeah, that kind of rule that closes out pound dollar. I'm talking myself into a hole there now, so it's time to move on. I should have someone beside me telling me to move on. Okay, we have a similar situation in euro dollar, a similar situation in the fact that I haven't updated the 4-hour chart yet. So I'll do that right now in front of you. Wow, that was smooth, wasn't it? Okay, so the 4-hour chart is we still got an alternate count on the 4-hour chart here, meaning that we could have a lower degree wave 3 complete at the recent extreme low, and now right now we could have let's say that would be moved to that high there. The recent high would be a lower degree wave 4. I'm still sticking with my own interpretation here, which would be the current interpretation, or the preferred interpretation would be that we have a larger degree wave 4 completing, and we're still expecting a 5th wave down to complete wave 1 in blue. So we're looking at 5 waves down in wave 1 blue. We don't know yet how this this 4th wave is going to complete. We could still see some sort of converging triangle or contraction triangle, whatever you want to call it, complete in a 4th wave. We could still, I don't know, this is the horrendous thing about corrections, is that not until the very end really do you know how the damn thing has played out. So we could we could see this the current pattern, which I think we're looking for a flat. So that would be 3 waves up in A, 3 waves down in B, and then 3 waves up, or sorry, 5 waves up in wave C of 4. Or we could see some sort of running flat again is another possibility. And interestingly enough, a running flat, if it were to complete, if it were to be a running flat, excuse me, you would suspect that a run into the 200 period moving average there at about, let's say about 117 or slightly above, would complete a running flat. So we're already at 116.56. So I think if we got a pop above 117, maybe into 117.50, that would rule out a running flat. I think we're expecting that anyway in the current count. So let's keep that in mind. I'm saying let's keep that in mind, but that's me talking to myself saying, Enda, keep that in mind. Okay, so the current count is wave 3 green at the most extreme recent low, which was back at the end of May there, 29th of May or 28th of May, was it? 29th of May. And off that we've got A, B, and we're working on wave C. Wave B would have been an expanded flat. So we had A, B, and 5 waves down in C. And now we're looking at wave C, and wave C itself should trace out a pretty clear three-wave pattern. We've got off to a good start off the recent lows, so I think we probably got wave 1 complete at today's high. And I think if you look in there, let's get rid of that crap there, and we'll go down to the 30-minute chart. That's why I like working with the 1 hour and 30-minute chart on the same. They do tend to hold the labels quite well between both time frames. So you can see today, most of the action today was a three-wave correction to the downside, and then off that three-wave correction, we exploded out there a bit. 3 waves down, pretty clear, and off that 3-wave low, we've had a nice, probably 1, 2, 3, and very minor 4th wave completing here, completing at the close today. So early Monday, you'd probably expect a little push above the previous high there, which was 116.74. So if we get a push above 116.74 early on the overnight trade, probably, then that would likely see a very minor 5 waves complete within wave 3. So that would be an indication that wave 3 pink was underway. So we're expecting 5 waves up early next week. It's a likelihood that wave 2 completed at today's low, which was 116.16. So we'd like to see 116.16 hold, and a further break of the recent high, 116.74, which would confirm wave 3, I think, up to the upside as underway. So for most of next week, we'd probably expect this pattern to play out. Again, I'm expecting price to approach that upper trend line there, that trend channel line, which would be up around the late 118s, so 118.50 to 118.80, that kind of area. At that point, then we'd look for a turn down again into wave 5 green. So that kind of does round out the 6 markets. Wishing you all a great weekend. Thanks so much for coming along on this ride with me. Hope to talk to you again on Monday evening. And just as a reminder, I think I mentioned it before that the first week of July I'll be heading off on holidays. So there will be updates during the week. So it'll be holiday updates. So there'll probably be Tuesday, Thursday, or Wednesday, Friday type of thing, or something like that. But either way, I wish you all a great weekend. Godspeed, everybody, and I hope to see you back on Monday evening. Bye-bye.